Thank you so much to each of you for being here. This is really special to see such an awesome turnout. I'm like turning all the way backwards to see you, Lisa. These events are growing more special by the month, and it's just really awesome to see so many of you. Susan, a lot of you. Gage, we've gotten to interview Susan, and what our vision is for this, what it was initially, is to bring people together for a common theme and to support those that have an intention of uplifting humanity through their work. But the cool side thing that's happened is that the people that are showing up to these events also have businesses that uplift humanity through their work. So it wasn't intended to be like a holistic networking group, but it's sort of becoming that way. Which is super cool, because that was like another big vision, and I was like, oh, we don't know how to put a networking group together, but it's sort of happening. Look around. These are the people. These are the people doing the good things in the world. So I just love that. And so I'd love to plan another time where we can all get together and share about our businesses again. We did that on our very first one. It would be super cool to do that. Lacey, would you like to introduce Marissa, since I have the pleasure of meeting her today myself?
Yeah, so I love Marissa, and I am just so grateful that you're here. And we got to meet through kind of a serendipitous, it was like aligned, the way that we met through our hairdresser. And it was when I was starting to do branding photography, and so I had decided, and it was made clear that I was supposed to be doing the branding photography, and my hairdresser, who happens to also be Marissa's hairdresser, was telling me about Marissa because we share some similar gifts, and she showed me her Instagram, and I was like, man, her brand is on point. Like, she's amazing. She looks so good. And I just kind of became like Insta obsessed. I'm sure y'all all kind of know. And then we met, and it was like the most perfect meeting ever. It's one of those things that I'm sure y'all all have had happen before, where it's just meant to be.
Well, look at them. Don't they look like they're related?
Yeah. People tell us that. So, anywho, fast forward to now, Marissa has invited me I've taken her intuition class, I've been on retreat with her and gotten to do branding photos with her, and we've become dear friends. And the magic that Marissa is I can't put it into words, and I'm so excited to have her as a special gift, just so that you all could experience her magic, and then the people who watch on the YouTube channel could also have a taste of all the amazing things that you're doing and the lives that you're changing. And for me, particularly, just helping me to align with that soul voice. So Marissa is the Soul Sorceress, and I'll let her tell her story around how she came to be that and what led her to where she is now, for you all to hear from the words. So without further ado, I think we'll start with a meditation, and I would like to lead it, if that's all right with you all. As we introduce Marissa, the Soul Sourceress. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet all of you. There's a few familiar faces and lots of new faces. And I guess the question is, who am I? Okay. And you tell us a little bit about your business, too. Okay. So I'm Marissa, and I discovered my ability to connect to the other side only about 4 years ago. And I was a mom of 2 little girls. I had a 5-month-old daughter at the time, and my next door neighbor took his own life. And that news was not shared, but he appeared to me while I was showering. And I started to hear messages, and I had some experience, like briefly of this before, but I had never really allowed myself to step into it. And essentially I tried to ask some questions to figure out if what I was experiencing was real, and I gave myself away. I knew too many things that were not shared. And so I was asked to do a reading about 24 hours after his passing, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was doing. I had my 5-month-old daughter on my lap, and yet it was like my soul was so happy that I was actually doing this. And I just took a notebook and I just started writing down whatever was coming through. And I told my husband, and he was like, "What? No, don't do that. It sounds like a terrible idea." And I was like, "Well, I can't. What am I going to say no to her? Like, I can't not go." And so I went and I literally just read this list, and I was like, hearing something about. We were asking about his, like, the ocean and his ashes, and they were like, yes, we were just trying to decide if we should spread his ashes in the ocean. That was our question that we had. And there was something with a pillow, and the pillow had come off the bed that night, and so it was just one thing after another. And I just realized, okay, this is real. I'm not making it up. And then I still tried to convince myself I was making it up for a bit. I ended up going on a walk a couple of days later and had some spirit guides appear to me. Also thought I was totally crazy until I had a message come through and it was like, "That's my granddaughter over there." And I was physically pushed to go and talk to a stranger, and I asked her about if she had a grandfather named Henry that couldn't walk, and she said yes, and he passed away. And I randomly said a few things and then just like ran off. But it was very strange. But I remember she said his name was John Henry, and I asked Spirit afterwards. I said, whatever I thought it was at the time, the voice. I said, "Why didn't you say John?" And she said, if I said John, you would have found a way to like convince yourself that that's too popular of a name. And so I had to say the Henry part. And so from there, everything just changed. I just started hearing more and more, and I tried to ask other mediums what to do, what do I do with this, how do I enhance it. They did give me the know-all to close my channel so that I didn't have to just hear spirit in the grocery store, because that was happening a lot. Or if hairdressers, like if someone touched my head, I'd be like, blah, 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 like here's your channel. And so I learned to close it, but I also learned to start trusting what was coming in. And as I did so, mediumship quickly turned into a lot more. I started doing, I heard that I was supposed to launch a business, and I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I couldn't not do it. And so I just started with $75 readings, like anyone want to do it, and I sold out everything in a month. The whole month was sold out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is needed, and it felt good. And so I just started doing more and more, and it wasn't just mediumship. It started to be past life regressions. It started to be tapping into the future. It started to be supporting people whose loved ones were in an Alzheimer's state or a space where they couldn't speak for themselves. It started going into very specific childhood traumas that needed to be released. And it continued to just enhance more and more. What I really have learned through all of this is that the reason it started later in life for me was that I'm not special because I can do this. I just learned to trust what was coming in, and as I did so, I was given this blueprint to teach others to do the same, because every single one of us has the ability to tap in. That doesn't mean you have to talk to your deceased loved one, but you can, and the most important part is that we have the ability to tap into our soul's voice and our guidance for ourselves when we question, what am I doing? And that we have that. And so what my favorite part is of my journey is that I get to support women, occasional men, but women specifically, in tuning into your abilities and your divine inner guidance on your path.
So one of my favorite stories that you have told me is how your business name came to be.
Yeah.
And so Marissa, what I love about how Marissa shares her wisdom is it's funny. Like there's a funniness to it. There's a very grounded, like real nature to it. It's very approachable. So I'd love for you to share with everybody about your business name and your thoughts around that. And then I have some thoughts about how powerful that name is for what you do, and specifically for me personally, how that has allowed me to do exactly what your name says that it does. So,
yeah. Okay, so the year I launched my business we launched in January, and we had a very strong download to move to Austin. We were living in LA, so we moved. basically came to Austin during the freeze a couple weeks after I just launched my business and still decided to move here, surprisingly. So we, not only did I launch business and then move across half the country with 2 little ones, I then, when we landed here, the name came through and it was like, because I took a pause for a month and it said, you're redoing your website and you're going to be called the Soul Sorceress. And I was like, absolutely not. People think I'm weird already. No, I'm not doing that. And it was like a very argument. Like every day I was like, yes. And I was like, no, like, can I have like a normal name? It was so clear and it kept spelling it out like source, S-O-U-R-C. And then I was like, okay, well, let's see if there's even a website available. And then it was, and everything was open. And I was like, okay. So I very hesitantly did it. But what I kept hearing with the source part was that it's not about that I'm a sorceress, like that old name. It's the fact that we all have the source in us to tap in. And so my whole goal with everything I do is that I support you in you tapping back into your own source.
I love that. That's cool. I love that. I would love to hear about, especially because we have a doula here with a doula company, I would love to hear about how you tap into baby spirits. I remember before both my kids, their souls were like pounding on the door and I could feel it. And I want to hear about your experience with that.
Yes, I love spirit babies because it actually took us nearly 5 years to conceive my oldest daughter. Both my daughters are IVF babies, and it was a really intense journey to conceive. We started when I was 27. Everyone's like, you'll be fine. And it wasn't. The doctors didn't really take me seriously at the time. And yet I always felt my daughter's souls around. I could feel them so strongly. And I actually started teaching prenatal yoga during this time, which people thought was kind of strange. Like, why do you want to be around pregnant people if that's the thing that you want? But I felt so called to do so. And so I did. And my class became the space where people would come for me to guess what gender of baby they were having. And I just thought it was a fun, like, game to play. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what you're having. And they were like, how do you know this? And I didn't really understand that was part of my tapping in. And actually, there's a funny story of, I was with one of my friends who was very pregnant at the time. I knew what they were having. And she had told her husband, who was kind of similar to my husband in the what are you doing type of thing. And she had said, oh, Marissa knew before we knew like what the baby was. And I actually knew what his name was too, which we figured out later. I was off by 1 letter. And so he said, I don't believe you. I'm gonna just say somebody randomly and you're gonna tell me what they're pregnant with. And I was like, I don't think it works like that. And he's like, just try. And so he did. He named one after another of their friends that were pregnant, and I knew it was a girl, boy. And then they got to one. He's like, what about this one? And I was like, there's twins. And he was like, what? How do you? And they're like, they just lost one. That it was twins, and they just lost one of this week. And so it was kind of this funny game that was becoming a little bit more serious. How do you know this? And I just kind of, it was one of those things that I kind of laughed off of something fun. But now spirit babies, I just love connecting with them because of my own journey of struggling. And I also love spirit babies because they are very light souls. So they don't care if my channel's closed, like they'll just float in. So sometimes usually I'm not going to channel like a deceased loved one for you if I just meet you at the park. But if there's a spirit baby, I'll be like, so are you thinking of a third? Trying to sprinkle it in to do it. And it just has a special place in my heart because I think that there's such beautiful light souls, and whether we've lost those souls or they've come through in miscarriage, they still have a lot of messages to share.
That's really special. Very, very special.
So one of the things that I have had the gift of experiencing is your ability to help people connect to their intuition and to discern the voice of the intuition. Because I think that maybe if you could share that with everybody, it might be something that would be helpful.
Okay, let's all do an exercise.
Yeah,
So just allowing yourself to just feel again into your inner knowing of your yes and your no. Whenever you're ready, just softly blinking over your eyes. feel, was it clear on your yes? Was anyone side to side? Okay, we got a few side to side.
I wonder if that's why you, I was like, did she mention it because she could feel that I was going side to side?
I was too. You're going side to side. Okay, that's more than. Okay, so yes, so some of us are going to be side to side. Okay, whose yes was forward? Okay, whose yes was backwards? See how everyone's just different? So whose yes was left? For those that did that. Whose yes was right?
I was
What are you?
I'm yes and I'm no.
Oh, okay. That's an option too. Like, my no is flat. Your yes is fat. You're no. Okay.
It's sort of like we're a human pendulum.
Yes. Yes, and we all have our own way of doing it. So it's a really great technique to just play with and to do it. Like if you're at the grocery store and pausing for a second, oh, should I grab? Oh, just get to see like where, and then it just allows us to trust more, right? It's like the same with pulling a card. Sometimes we get into our head of, ooh, should I do this one, right? But if we allow ourselves to be pulled to it, that's always the right one to do. So it's just pausing, allowing ourselves to just trust. So play with it. If you have kids, this is a fun thing to play with your kids too. Make it like a little game so that they start trusting themselves.
So in the, just keeping in the theme of what Coffee and Connections is and making sure we get to hear from everybody, let's go around and just share your name and then share how do you usually connect with your intuition or your higher self. And maybe this is brand new for you and that's okay too because you could hear other ideas, or maybe it's like when I'm taking a shower, sometimes I hear something that comes in that I should do. But let's just go around and share how you connect with your intuition. So who would like to start?
Just trust all the way around.
I connect with mine through usually writing. And I didn't know, actually it was when we went to Lee Harris that he said that's channeling. I was like, what? But since I started morning pages when I was probably, 17 or 18, I was doing the artist way and I was writing 30 minutes a day, and something would happen at about a page and a half in where no matter what was going on in my life, I couldn't call bullshit to myself anymore. And my higher self would come in, or whatever, I thought it was my higher self, would come in and just straighten me right out. And the answers would come on the page. And so for me, when I open up, the answers come when I'm doing freehand writing on a page. So that's been one of my ways.
And then I started using a pendulum in the last couple of years, and that's really cool. When I don't think I trust myself, then I use that, and I'm like, your gut is always right. So, yeah, nature.
So excited to be here. Thank you for offering this, Hannah and Lacey and Marissa. So the way that I connect best to spirit and to myself is also in nature, like Kelly said. And that brought me to live out in the country. And I noticed that just the surrounding, setting that scene, brings me so into my own center. And guidance for me does not show up in words, but in images. So even when your yes and no question, there were words showing up. I didn't hear them, I saw them, what my yes word is and what my no word is. And it is just because I feel that I need to be in my center, and nature and my life, my everyday very much takes me there. If I need a little more, I just take a walk on our property. And then being so at peace and calm, I can, I wouldn't say channel, but I can pass that on through my yoga classes to my students. So, but it starts with me centering myself, being connected, seeing, opening my eyes, and then, yeah, that is how it works for me.
First thing I do when I open my eyes is say a prayer of gratitude. And I pray throughout the day. I pray to God, I pray to my guides, my angels. I love reading cards. I have a plethora of them. And I really do it truly for me. I feel like we're writing like love letters to each other, or, and just having that affirmation of what I'm thinking.
I'm a work in progress, so I'm discovering how to best connect to Source. Before I had a meditation practice, I think that it was always when I was running, and that's because I was connected in nature. There was peace and calm. I always have the chaos in my brain. All these thoughts and spinning plates, but not when I'm running. That's when I'm centered and I can hear and receive. And then also through writing. I don't run as much. It's cold right now.
I don't really have like a way that I figured out to connect yet. I just kind of get slapped with a sign. And it, like everything else is like so beautiful, it's like you're connecting, and then all of a sudden I just feel like I'm just like pow. But I do, randomly get dreams or signs or something that it's like I just know. So I think maybe that's probably part of my lesson is like harnessing that and figuring out like how to calm.
And thank all of you for sharing everything that you shared. Really appreciate it. I feel like I can reflect on pretty much everything that everybody said in some way, shape, or form. I've experienced that. I think I'm similar to you, where I literally was born into this world as this walking antenna, feeling and knowing things that I'm not supposed to know, seeing things I'm not supposed to see, hearing things that I'm not supposed to hear, and not being raised in an environment where that was okay. So not really knowing how to move through the world with that. And so I've kind of traversed lots of different ways of experiencing it, but it feels like it's my whole beingness. So more of my journey has been like, how do I be in the earth? How do I be here now? And so grounding practices like nature are super helpful for me. But my meditation practice and writing also has been a big thing for me to get the messages that I need now in this moment in time, and being very, very present in every moment that is given to me. So yeah, I think that the voice of the soul, I think that you've been very helpful actually, Marissa, of helping me discern my intuition and to trust it, and to understand the voice of the mind versus the voice of intuition, which I have reflected that that's the ego versus the soul. And I think that's why I love that you're the Soul Sorceress, because you do help people to source their own soul. And I know for me particularly, your practices and just your embodiment of it has really allowed me to trust my process and to step into who I am as a very intuitive person with trust and guidance, but also protection and also groundedness. So there's like an embodiment, I think, that I've recently stepped into through some of my practices, that it's allowed me to walk in the world through that intuition without it being overwhelming. And you've helped me with that, so thank you. I would just like to say, first of all, thank you all for sharing those, because it brings us all closer together when we share the intimacy of how we tap in. And I would just like to highlight that all of us have the ability to tap in, and you guys all shared really beautifully how it can show up really differently for everyone. So I always say that just like our 5 senses that we have those same senses of access to our higher self or the other side, and we're going to have one that's the loudest. And so you guys kind of all shared differently, right? Some of you see things, some of you feel it, some of you hear things. Those 3 are like the top ones that you're going to go into. And so what I love doing with working with clients is that we find the one that you already have access to, and that's the one that we start with. We want to start with your strength. We want you to start actually being like, okay, I'm feeling this come up, so let's play with that, let's make that highlighted. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then we can turn the other ones on, because you do have access to all of them. But as Sierra shared, from a young age, typically it's not always this welcomed thing, like, oh great, you heard a weird thing, or you know this is going to happen. I don't really know what to do with that. And so we just, in order to fit in the world, we tend to shut that off. And what I love about women in general is that we're learning to tap back into that and to say, actually, this is a superpower. This is what we're here to do. I love working with clients in witch wounds. I haven't heard that term before. A witch wound is a past life in which you were either hurt or killed, or somebody that you loved was hurt and killed,
because of your abilities. Because we've all had abilities. It used to be normal. It used to be very normal to know, oh, this is when you plant these seeds because this is when they will grow. Those were intuitive things that people knew. It wasn't like, well, we figured this out and we read a textbook. It's like, no, we knew these things. We knew how to heal people with herbs and what to do for each other because we just listened and we tapped into that. And so now this day and time, women especially are tapping back in because the world isn't supposed to be how it is right now. It's supposed to be shifted into the dynamic of we are guided from a higher source. And there's lots of distractions that take us away from that. And yet it's when we're distracted, it's actually being called to tap back in, to trust.
So I want to be mindful of time. We have one last question for you. Because you're giving so much to so many other people, how do you take care of you? And then if you feel called, we can move into the reading.
Okay, how do I take care of me? I find having a group of women for myself is how I find my connection. So I was part of a 2-year mastermind for women in business when I first launched. I joined a women's mastermind for business before I launched my business because it came through. I didn't have any income. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, it was $15,000 to join it, and I was like, yes. I don't know how to pay for this, but like it's a clear yes, and I trusted it. And I always share like I made 10 times that amount in 1 year because it was this deep trust in following it. And from that, I've kind of collected the women that are my go-tos. And so even though I paused doing the mastermind, I still have women that I go to, and I talk to them every day or every other day, and they're my people that hold me accountable for who I am and when I'm, right, because I'm human also. I don't just walk around being like, everything's clear. Like, right now I'm trying to decide where my girls are going to school next year, and I'm like, why is this decision so hard? Like, it should just drop in, and with business, it always drops in. But there's things like my family or my children that I struggle more with those decisions, and so having others women to hold me accountable. And that's why I love holding women's groups, and I'm actually hosting a women's mastermind for 10 months that begins this April through February, and it's for 8 women who are ready to access all of your abilities. So this is the starting point of like, yeah, you guys have it, you're hearing things, okay, now let's go for it. I want you to be able to access all of it. I want you to trust yourself in, yeah, I can do mediumship if I want to do that, if I choose to do that. Essentially, the vision that I saw the other day was it's like a freeway. Sometimes it feels like a freeway with no lanes right now. When we have our guidance coming in, it's a little bit hard to decipher it. And so clearly making your different channels is like, I can do and access all of these points, and I can choose which lane that I go into. And I don't have to go into all the lanes, but I know that I can. And so being able to access that for yourself or for your business, or through creativity, a lot of you shared creativity doesn't have to be drawing or writing. It can be, but it can also be work that you do, and you just channel it through yourself. And so utilizing what is coming through for your access point for what you're meant to do in this work.
That was special.
Great. Thank you.
So who wants to raise their hand for a reading? Or
Did you know it was going to be you?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, I had a feeling. So, okay, you have a lot of maternal energy that is around you. Sorry, a gentleman keeps interrupting me each time I try to talk. So let me see if he's going to talk first. Is this your dad? Okay, so he's here, and he is just warming into your heart, and he's almost showing this. So his mom was trying to talk over him, and he's like, no, I need to be the one that connects in.
It's probably my grandmother,
Okay.
but not his mother. It's my mom's mother.
Mom. Okay.
And they both talk to me all the time.
Okay.
When I was talking before, they're the voices that I hear the most of.
All the time.
Yeah.
Your dad's mom is also here. She's
She didn't pass it.
She didn't pass.
She's
Okay.
not her. His father did
Okay.
recently, but his mom's not doing well.
Okay. He's bringing her forward of her energy, and so I can communicate with souls that are still present but are not.
Okay.
And so your dad wants you to know that he's already with her, that he's holding her in this in-between space, so that she's actually not in pain right now. She's not suffering. She's playing, and she's seeing him like as though he's right there, sitting with him, holding his hand, and she's so happy. And okay, now your dad's like, my turn. He says, I'm so grateful for this life with you. And he's like, I need you to hold the warmth in your hand. So were you there with him when he passed?
No, I wasn't with him.
He needs you to know that it was as though you were there. That there was never a separation between you two.
Makes sense for me. I have a lot of guilt around. He had a hard time. He passed young. He was 55. So,
But he needs you to know that even before his passing, any time that you weren't, because it feels like you had not this closeness, and he says, I need you to know that it was just like I was holding your hand. Because the impact that you have, the warmth that you have, you can feel wherever you are. And he says, I could feel it far beyond the time that I was not with you. And he says, I want to take accountability for my actions that brought to that separation and brought to my ultimate passing. And he just says, thank you for honoring me in the way that you have, because you have healed our lineage. And he says, he's like, look at all the work she has done. She's healed not only this lifetime, but lifetimes before, because you weren't afraid to look at the past and to hold it and to love it and to bring that warmth to it, even when it felt really cold. And he just says, thank you. And now he's getting teary-eyed. And he's, so you have a son. So he wants to.
and he didn't meet him.
Okay, he says, I did. He says, I was with him. So he's bringing attention to his cheek. So is there a dimple?
He's always smiling.
Okay.
He's the most smiliest little boy.
Do you ever feel like you get a glimmer of your dad in his, that he's almost showing like this glint in his eye and then this smile. The smile.
I would
is
have
his-
loved him. I became pregnant with my son 3 months after my dad passed, and I had been trying for 2.5 years to get pregnant. And he would have loved him. He's everything that he is. Like he would have a great relationship.
Is there a letter passed down that's the same?
Yep.
Okay. He just wants to say thank you for that honoring.
My sister passed away 8 years before my dad, and I named my daughter after my sister, and my son has an L name as well. So they both have L names after, and my sister, but also my dad's daughter.
Beautiful. He says thank you for that honor. And it's funny, now you said your sister, she's trying to chime in. Your dad's like, hold on.
I never hear my sister, and I always wonder, did she reincarnate? Is she there? What's going on? But I hear my dad and my grandmother often. I never hear her.
She's a very slight whisper. Is somebody get a tattoo in her honor?
My sister, I have two sisters. I had one sister that passed and a sister that's still here.
Okay.
And my sister that's still here got a tattoo in connection to my sister who passed.
Okay, she's showing me an angel, so I don't know if there's a connection with the angel of it.
It's the infinity.
Okay. She's showing these like angel wings. Okay, so she's showing with the infinity part of it that I'm living on forever in a different way. And I'm working my way to get my angel wings. So when we pass away, we have options on the other side. Sometimes we pass away and we've done all we need to do here on earth, so then we become an angel, and then we still get to choose if we want to come back and help people or not. Other times when we cross over, we kind of work our way up on the other side and we do the work there. Like, what is it that we want to do? How do I help others? And she's on this path of there. She doesn't want to come back here. And but it's a really it's a journey for her that's finding herself along this way. But it is a quieter journey. So she's showing like little feathers that she drops to you, white feathers specifically too, because it's a reminder that she's getting her wings. And she says, "Thank you for honoring me in the way that you have." And she's very quiet. She's like it's like a little whisper. So she just says, "Listen for me in the whispers and see me in the times of darkness, because that's when I come to you the most." She says, "You were always there for me, and it's really beautiful to witness you be there for yourself." And now your dad's like coming back in. But your dad's taking your sister's hand. They said, "We want you to know that we are together." And they also can roam freely, but they do love coming together to visit. And they are showing your grandmother, your dad's mom, that she will be joining them soon, but in a really beautiful and peaceful way, because she's had such an impactful life in this world. And they just all are saying, "We honor you, and we're so grateful for all of the work that you've done for our souls and your own." Thank you so much. Can I do one more?
I just want to, I know for time, people have to go, and I really appreciate you guys coming and being a part of this. And, I love this. At the end, I'm always like, can we just hang out all day? Can we do this all day? So those of you that are staying for lunch, I'll ask Juan where we're moving to. That cafe did open now, so that's new. They were excited to have us all see that. So let's meet for coffee or tea.
Let's just do a little closing meditation together. So just taking one hand to your heart, and if you can, one hand to your belly. I only have one hand on it. And just take a nice inhale into your belly, filling it with air, light, ease, holding your breath for a moment here as you just allow it to circulate, and just exhaling up to your heart space. This time, inhaling into your heart space, filling it with light, air, and ease, and holding your breath as you just feel it hug around the back of our hearts. This is where we can hold grief or pain. And this time, just exhaling and imagining it shooting up the crown of your head. Imagining that white light goes up about 3 feet above your head, just allowing your breath to naturally flow in and out. I want you to just imagine that this is where your guides, your angels, your loved ones, spirit lies. Right here, just about 3 feet above us. It's not a far off, distant place, but it's right here. And then I just want you to notice your own energy in your body, feeling this beautiful white light that was in your belly and your heart, and just start to feel it penetrate through your whole body, this beautiful vibration. It comes to the edge of your skin and just vibrates here and moves out 2 inches in all directions, 3 inches in all directions, a foot in all directions, 2 feet in all directions, 3 feet in all directions. And just noticing that this is your soul body, this is your form, and noticing as well that it connects directly to our guidance and our angels and our loved ones that are right here 3 feet above us. And that when we allow ourselves to tap in, that we are always guided and held, and they're right here with us. And so from this space, we just thank all of our guides and angels and loved ones for being here with us. I'm just going to, I usually have a candle, I don't have that, I'll pretend to blow a candle. It just is the image of sending back all of their guidance and wisdom to you, where they always are, holding you and loving you in every step and breath along your way. Making sure to tune in to your own wisdom that is always here for you, even if it's just that little whisper. It's here to support you every step and breath along your journey. So honored to be with you. Taking a nice breath in all together, relaxing it out, and just softly blinking open your eyes. Thanking each other for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. For the people who are watching on YouTube, where can they connect with you? And soulsourceress.com, SOURCERESS. And my Instagram is Soul Sourceress. It has the most up-to-date info. And I have free readings, free group readings. I do small group readings and one-on-ones and all sorts of things. Well, whatever it is that you have going on will be. Yeah.
All right. And we also have the QR code for her, for everybody here.